when you've lost 3 in a row, you wonder, does the 2026 class, which sounds like it's in a good space, the kids are all saying the right things, is that the truth? Is that the reality? Tee it up for us, Michael. People want to know, how's Mike Norvell doing with the high school kids right now?
Yeah, I think the majority of it is good. I think just about every one of them is pretty locked in, or you feel like they're going to sign at FSU. Certainly, I was expecting to do a video with Tom Lang about FSU being 3-3. After we thought like one of the games they would win between Miami and Alabama. I even predicted, hey, they're going to win one. So I pat on the back of that. But overall, I did not expect multiple losses to like a team like Virginia and Pittsburgh. I think the recruits were fine when it was just Miami and Virginia was a tough situation because you're playing a high scoring team and they hadn't played on the road, they haven't faced adversity. We certainly know they can score now. So those 2 games I think was okay, but then the Pittsburgh game, that kind of okay. There's some problems, and that's where the concern started. Overall, I don't think they're in any danger of losing guys, but at some point, the dam's going to break if you don't fix this and get to winning. Especially the bad news for Norvell is a lot of the teams you play, nothing against them, are probably teams that you're going to be favored to beat outside of Clemson and Florida. So you've got to get this fixed, and they've got to show some life and response to what this program is going to be and what the future is going to be. And as far as flip guys or guys that they're recruiting like Chris Carbon and Trenton Henderson, all these guys, you have to show something that's going to grab their attention. I think with Chris, I think they're in a good spot, but you're not going to be able to add a lot of those guys. It feels like they're in a stationary position, so they're going to have to, show something because my biggest critique of this team, and has been for the 6 years, is their ability to acquire talent, and we saw that majorly on show. And I'm not going to beat around the bush when they played Miami, men against boys. Like they got dominated. I don't care what the final score was. That was the game they got dominated. No matter how you want to spin it, where Miami took the foot off the gas or whatever way you want to word it, showed a lot of fight from the FSU kids, but you saw a big difference of talent. So that's got to change if that's the direction they're going to keep going. Otherwise, I think it certainly feels like essential that you're probably going to have to make a change down the line.
I feel like a fan in this circumstance would ask this question, and I'm curious about it. I think we all are. So do you look at this, Michael, and do the kids, most importantly, look at this? Like there's a certain win total that you need to achieve. You're 3-3.
Yeah.
So that means you got 6 games to go. Is it about hitting a watermark of 7, 8, or 9 wins? Any one of those 3? Do you feel better? Like, of course, the better the record, the better the recruiting class is going to be. But is there a big gap, say, between 7 and 8? Is there a gap between 8 and 9? Or are the kids not thinking like that and they just need to see better product on the field along with a couple of results that go Florida State's way?
I think they feel good about what they do or presenting or the organization of the NIL. I think it's more just showing a product that they can get behind because you remember in the spring and summer, that's where all this buzz and generation started. Kids went to practice. They saw a different level of the way they did things, excitement. I think they need to get back to showing the excitement level, and they haven't shown that since in any of these 3 games, maybe a little bit in the Virginia game, but they haven't shown that excitement that kids got behind, and I think they need to show that. Production, obviously they need to do that, but I don't think kids are to my point of where I'm at of the standard of, hey, 8 wins is terrible, but I think they need to see something that's growth wise that they can clamp onto because I think right now, it feels like not being trying to be Mr. Negative in this whole show, but they look like they're getting worse every week, and that's what concerns me about recruiting is you start dipping like that. It's like we see other teams like Florida and Clemson, they're getting better as the season's gone on, and they had tough starts. But I think you need to see that with FSU where there's some response and there's some growth of the product of what they're doing.
So out of curiosity, Florida State plays basically on Sunday morning overnight. It's a 10:30 kick up at Stanford, and then there's a bye week, and then there's a home game. How do you view this part of the calendar for your job? Like what you do at Warchant, the way you reach out to the kids, because Florida State needs some positive momentum, but in a weird way, Michael, the schedule lays out at this point, you're kind of neutral for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's not like Wake Forest inspires a whole lot either as a home opponent. It is homecoming weekend, so you're going to have a few more butts in the seats than you would otherwise. But it does seem like kind of a flat time on the calendar.
Yeah.
How are you going to gauge, and what are you going to look for, and what are you going to mind for from these 2026 kids between now and the next time Florida State hosts a home game?
I think it's mainly about their production of what their program, of what they're doing with their, whether it's offense or defense, and whether it's a recruit at that position. What is your unit doing production-wise from a growth standpoint? That's what I want to see. Obviously, it's got to win. That's a given. All these games they play at home, they should be wins. With whoever they play, but I think it's the growth of position. So that's something you can highlight when I interview the kids afterwards. I can ask them specifically and get into that, and you can kind of build some juice about that. So that's kind of what I'm going to be looking for is the production of the unit, but also the production of just what side of the ball they're being recruited. But there needs to be a stance to what you're going to be.
Well, and it's fair to say, because we already have the proof from last year in our own
Yeah,
backyard. The more you lose, the more expensive it is, because
yeah,
Florida State obviously had to make some serious things happen last year during the early signing period to get an Usman Croma to say yes to Florida State,
yes,
to get Gelsey and Harold and Lee and others, Arnaud, to keep Kevin Wynn,
yeah.
in the 26 class. The more you lose, the more expensive it gets, right, Michael? Isn't it as simple as that these days?
It is, and it also is. The thing I've heard the most about recruits, Tom, when I talk to them, or even Matt talks to them, or we interview them after the game, or we interview them during the week, going for the next game, is you could tell the pitch is consistently been around impact early. Impact early. They mentioned that a lot of impact early, like, hey, we're playing like this because we don't have you. If we had you, you would impact that. It's kind of now that's a good thing. They have some players like the Desir twins. There's some young players, certainly like Usman, that you can highlight and say, hey, we're not afraid to play the freshmen. What is that other team doing down the road? They're just sticking these guys on the roster. They're not playing them. So you can highlight that. That's kind of been like the main pitch that FSU can do, mainly because it's the only pitch they could do with the way they were playing. But it's the pitch that they can utilize and effectively utilize. But in order to effectively do that, your product has to be, there has to be some sort of impact and growth and life, because it feels like it's been lifeless as far as what we're watching, on the Saturday. And I know when I was out there waiting on the recruits, it was just kind of like a numb feeling, like, wow, this is really, really what it is right now.